Okay, so before we start, I am going to put up my PowerPoint presentation again. I encourage you not to share any personal information because this session is recorded. Okay, um, and I'd like to welcome Andrew Kim today. Andrew and I work with the School of Graduate Studies. Andrew knows everything related to graduate enrollment and questions about your program, and I'm more on the financial side of things. I'd ask that you mute your microphone until you need to speak. Okay, and if I'm getting some background noise, I may mute you, so please don't be offended. Okay, all right, so I am going to share my screen. Hopefully it will work. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining us today. My name is Carol Sullivan and I manage the scholarships and awards with the School of Graduate Studies. So before we jump into scholarships and fellowships and all the fun stuff, I'd like to start off with a little piece about financial literacy. And it's a really important kind of skill set for you to develop over time, and not only in your graduate program, right? It's a skill that you will serve you well your whole life. And these are just some tips that I've come across as I read about financial literacy and I kind of from my own personal experiences as well. So I want you to kind of think about this as you move through the presentation, and I hopefully you'll have some good takeaways, even if it's one piece of advice that you can take and use in your personal life. Hello, Humberto. Nice to see you again, or hear you again. So my first piece of advice is create a spending plan. Okay, so understand how you're going to spend your money and make a plan for it. There's some really good tools on the internet that you can access easily. I have a link here that I find very useful and pretty intuitive. And just to note, I'm gonna the last slide in this presentation will have all the links that I've mentioned today, so don't worry too much if you don't get those as I move through. So create a spending plan and stick to it, okay, as best you can. Spending plan is kind of like a diet. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. But if you stick to it in general, it'll serve you well. And when you do a budget, it doesn't have to be as in depth as, an Excel table, Excel file with pivot tables. It could be a pencil, piece of paper, or you can download some free apps that are online. My only piece of advice if you are downloading a budgeting app, there's lots of them out there. Good Budget is one, Spending Tracker is another. Uh, be mindful that some of these apps will ask to connect to your banking information. So make sure you're well informed on that piece, okay? Use cash whenever possible because it makes your purchase more tangible. There was a research study that came out of MIT and they studied individuals who were purchasing football tickets. And the individuals that used their credit cards were willing to pay 64% more than those spending cash. So just be mindful. Not always possible to use cash, of course, in the world we're in today, but certainly, keep that in mind. Always check your bank account and your credit card activity just for something to do. If you have 5 minutes to spare, you have the bank app on your phone, just check it and make sure that everything is as it should be. Anything looks strange, always investigate. This is one piece of advice I discovered myself a trap I guess I fell into, and that's what I call subscription creep. And by that I mean, well, for me, for example, I had a Netflix subscription, I had Amazon Prime, Crave TV. I had a subscription for a running app. I had a subscription for an online news source. So I wasn't really kind of aware of all these little amounts, and they were really small amounts individually, but combined together, they did creep up on me for sure. Always pay your bills on time. Certainly pay your tuition on time, but bills in general you should pay on time, and I'll tell you why. First is it will save you late fees, okay? And also, if you kind of get into the trap of paying your bills later, it'll impact your credit score later on in life. Okay, so just keep an eye to that. Pay your bills on time and you won't have any troubles. Ask about how to claim deductions and tax credits for students. So if you're filing your taxes in Canada, there are a number of tax deductions if you're a full-time student. Easy to find information on that on the Revenue Canada website. And just a final piece of advice, try to put away some money for emergencies. There are some online calculators that will tell you how much you should put away. That may not always be realistic, but try to squirrel some money away, that in case there is something, you have a little bit of something to fall back on. Okay, so that's all my advice today for financial literacy. And if there's anything you'd like to share at the end, I'd love to hear it. Okay. All right, so we are going to jump right into to the funding of your graduate program and funding sources. So there are three sources of funding in your graduate program. Oh, I gotta go back. There we go. So your funding generally is offered on your program on your letter of admission, and it can be divided into fellowships or SGS baseline or employment or a combination of both. Okay, so those two pieces, your fellowships and your employment, you will tend to see on your program of study. I'm going to talk about all the sources in detail as we move forward. Generally speaking, you'll see it referred to as SGS baseline or supervisor support, but it's generally all fellowship money. Okay. You may see your employment referred to as an assistantship, as a GA, which is a graduate assistantship, as an RA, which is a research assistantship, and you'll be working primarily with a supervisor on doing research, or a teaching assistantship, which means that you'll be in the classroom helping to teach a course, or in the virtual classroom these days. So the employment piece, it's really important to remember that there are some deductions. So you will be paid a certain rate, but there will be some taxes, CPP, which is the Canadian Pension Plan, and employment insurance, which will be deducted from your hourly rate. It's about 7%. Okay. And then the other piece of funding that really you apply for after you start your program and kind of continuously throughout your program are different scholarship opportunities. Okay, that's kind of the three basic sources. So we'll talk a bit about the fellowships and supervisor support. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. It's pretty straightforward. So generally, any SGS fellowship or supervisor support is going to be paid to you on a bi-weekly basis over the academic year and deposited to your Canadian bank account. If you're doing your budget or your spending plan, you take the annual amount you've been offered and divide it by 26, and that's how much you're going to get every 2 weeks. Okay. For our international students who are starting the program remotely and you're unable to come to Canada, we will pay your funding directly to your student tuition account until the time that you arrive in Canada. Okay, so at the very least, you won't be accruing tuition fees. So it'll take care of your tuition. Once you arrive in Canada and we get your study permit, we will give you any credit balance that has accrued on your account. So if we owe you money, we will pay it to you then, and then switch over the biweekly payments directly to your Canadian bank account. Okay. It's really important to understand what the expectations are around any scholarship or funding source. Okay. So with fellowships, you must maintain an overall average of 75% in your graduate program. So as you're working through your courses, and we know you're all going to get 75, you're all very bright, and we know you're going to do well. But just to keep that in your mind, you have to be registered full-time. And that will be a common theme you'll see with most fellowships and scholarships, not just at Memorial, but across Canada. Scholarships are primarily reserved for full-time students. It's guaranteed, so the amount on your program of study is the minimum amount of funding you will receive for 2 years if you're a master's student or 4 years if you're a PhD student. Okay, so for example, if your total funding package is $10,000 a year and you're a master's student, well, you will get $10,000 per year for 2 years. And if you were a PhD student, it would be $10,000 per year for 4 years. Okay, so it's good for you to understand that, because if your pay doesn't look right, you need to question it. Okay, understand what you're supposed to get, when you're supposed to get it. And if something doesn't look right, always ask questions. And that's why we're here. So the other piece of information about fellowships and supervisor support is that it's not considered employment. So there won't be any of those deductions for income tax that we talked about with the employment. Okay, so you'll get the full amount. So the employment piece, I did talk about this earlier. You are required to work a set number of hours a week. So if you've been awarded an assistantship on your program of study, you will be required to work a set number of hours a week. It's generally 4 hours a week for 15 weeks. The hourly rate is $22.22 an hour. Okay. If you're a full-time student or you are an individual with a study permit, be mindful that if you work more than 24 hours per week in total from all your jobs, you have to go part-time. Okay, so keep in mind that 24-hour a week rule. Okay, so you want to keep your funding, you want to be switched to part-time, you want to maximize your funding, and so just be mindful of that. I mentioned this earlier, it is taxable and subject to some deductions. The other important piece of information here is that you must be residing in Canada to be employed as a GA. So if you're an international student, you were offered a GA on your program of study, your department will hold that GA for you until you arrive in Canada. Okay? So the third piece of funding is scholarships, and why you should apply for everything. If you're not sure if you're eligible, apply anyway and let the scholarship committee decide whether you're eligible or not. You never know, okay? So why should I apply? Of course, the financial rewards are always what comes to mind first. But it's also an excellent opportunity for you to show off your skills, and skills that you probably haven't really given a lot of thought to, like your leadership skills and your community service skills, right? Very impressive on scholarship applications. The experience just of simply writing the application prepares you for resume writing and grant writing. Excellent exercise to go through. You get practice in selling yourself, which is sometimes is tough for some of us to sell ourselves, but scholarship applications certainly kind of get you to do that a lot, so it doesn't hold you back so much. And of course, if you're awarded a scholarship, there's the public recognition. So oftentimes your name will be printed, maybe in a news article. There may be an award ceremony. You'll get a certificate and that sort of thing. So always apply. Okay. So these are some tips that I've kind of picked up over the years from different students, and so the first one is apply, and I know I've said that lots already, but apply for anything you think you're eligible for. Okay, if you're not sure, leave it up to the scholarship committee to make that decision. Don't sell yourself short. Make sure you take advantage of the supports. We have a lot of supports for scholarship application writing at Memorial. We have our EDGE program, which is a series of free sessions to help develop your writing skills or professional skills. So take advantage of those. I'm going to leave the link again at the end, so you'll have it. Also on our funding page, we have additional resources for scholarship writing. Okay. Take the time to invest in your application. For example, we may have 25 scholarships out during one particular time. So we have to review all the maybe 25 different scholarships. And a lot of times, more than once I've seen where a student will use the same cover letter and sometimes even forget to change the name of the scholarship in their cover letter. So don't do something like that. Take the time, invest in the application, look at what the scholarship application is asking for, what skills, and tie that into your cover letter. Apply for the small awards. Again, you would be surprised to know the low number of people that apply for smaller awards. And you know, the reality is the lower the number of applications, the less competitive it is as well, and it increases your chances. Okay, so apply for everything. And we do find as well the scholarships that require more work also have fewer applicants. All right, make sure you proofread everything. Be persistent. Don't be offended if you don't get a scholarship. Keep trying. We have so many great students, and so just because you may not have been awarded a scholarship doesn't mean you weren't in the top 2 or 3, right? So don't keep moving forward. If you have an extraordinary need, it's good to articulate that, either in a scholarship letter or in the application itself, just so the committee understands fully your background. Probably the most valuable piece of advice I've discovered is choose your referees wisely and keep them informed. So you ask your referees if they can give you a good reference for a scholarship. You let them know in advance when you need the letter by, and you give them a copy of your CV so they remember who you are, and even give them extra tips about what you would like included in the letter. Okay? Make sure you choose your referees wisely. And there are lots of online scholarship databases, and I'm going to give you a link to a few at the end. Monitor those often. And your academic unit as well will send out scholarship announcements. Okay, so make sure that you're on a listserv or the academic contact has your email address, because they will regularly send out group emails about scholarships. Okay, so be informed. So these are some of the databases I mentioned earlier, good for you to check out. This one here is our internal one at the School of Graduate Studies. It has all our internal scholarships plus some external ones. Scholarships Canada is a good site. If you are coming from outside Canada, the Canadian Bureau for International Education may have some scholarships that are relevant to the area you're traveling from. And professional associations. So I know we have some engineering students online here. So if there may be some, for example, if you're in engineering, the professional engineering associations may have scholarships. Same for medicine and any of the other areas. And here in Canada, we have a federal granting agency. And depending on your area of research would depend on where you would apply. So if you're in the natural sciences and engineering, you would look at scholarships from NSERC. If you're in social sciences and humanities, you would look at SSHRC, SSHRC. And anyone doing health research, we would get you to look at CIHR. Okay, so these are external opportunities for the most part. So you apply directly to the federal government, but you work very closely with your supervisor and grad studies on preparing those applications. So here is the screen I promised you. Now I'm just going to stop sharing because I cannot see your chats. Oh, okay. Okay, so that is the end of my presentation, and I'm gonna toss it out there and see if anyone has any questions. And I think I saw one. Just give me a moment. So Asamoah asks, what are the scholarship packages available for me as an international student? So Asamoah, you are a Master of Applied Science, which is a course-based program. Generally, course-based programs are not offered funding upon admission. So any opportunities, you would have to kind of research those as they become available. I'm going to see if I can share that last screen again and see if I can copy and paste it maybe. Okay. Okay, I'm going to try and figure out how to send that to you later. All right, so we see I have some people from gender studies, and certainly PhD students would have received funding on admission. Master of Engineering. Anybody have any questions, any advice? So we talked a bit about international students, and if you're not able to arrive in Canada, what will happen is your funding will be applied to your student account every 2 weeks. The first payment probably won't begin to be applied until the end of September, okay? Because we are in the process of collecting study permit documents, such as the approval in principle documents. So don't be alarmed if your first payment is not there on the 1st of September. It probably will be to the end before you start seeing it. Okay. And I'm going to put my email address here. If you have any questions. And I'm going to copy and paste this here into the chat. There. Okay, you're really quiet. What recommendations do you have when selecting references? Should the person be based in the area of study or a character reference? Excellent question, Rosie. Usually you have your supervisor as one reference. And depending on the scholarship, you may have to get an external one, so someone who can speak to your leadership or a character reference. But generally, I would always say have your supervisor as one reference, okay? If you're in a course-based program and you don't have a supervisor, try to find a faculty member within your academic unit who can give you a good reference. Give them lots of time and information. Okay, so send them maybe a snapshot of the scholarship, send them your CV, tell them when you need it, and they're pretty good. Asamoah, is it possible to apply for internal and external scholarships while undertaking remote? Absolutely, Asamoah. Apply, and in fact, I would encourage you to apply for everything. My only piece of advice is put the work in, okay? Some of the scholarships are quite intense, so make sure you take advantage of the resources that are available and, kind of put the time into the applications. Getting some feedback. I'm going to mute someone, sorry. Andrew, can you help me with the muting? I can't seem to do that.
Sure.
Thank you. Is it normal to not receive SGS baseline funding if one is receiving supervisor's grant? It depends on the unit, Sarah. So Sarah's asked, is it normal to not receive baseline funding if one is receiving a supervisor's grant? It really depends. I'm not sure what area you're studying in, but I know in our Oceans Frontiers Institute, if you're funded through that group, you would not receive SGS baseline funding because that source is not allowed to, we're not allowed to combine those funds together. So if you want to share what program you're in, maybe I can speak to that a bit better. Akinlona, can I pay other related fees semester by semester rather than paying in full for the whole 2021 academic year, including fall tuition? Excellent question, Akinola. So fees are charged on a semester basis, and the fees deadline, so the deadline to have those fees paid, is usually the end of the first day of classes of each semester. Okay, so you don't have to pay your full year in advance, not according to memorial regulations. So make sure when you know when that date is. Again, if you're an international student and we are applying the funds directly to your student account, don't worry about that date. You will not be charged a late fee. Okay, because we know the money is here. We're just going to transfer it to your student account. Excellent question. And I assume everybody's starting in the fall. That's why you're here. So remember as well, I don't know if we have Canadian students online here. If you're a Canadian student, of course, we don't have to worry about study permits and all that stuff, but you can sign up for payroll deduction. And that's an automated process where you ask us to deduct your tuition from your funding. You have to do that every semester, okay? As I'm not attending classes in Newfoundland, what fees will not be required for me to pay? So right now, Rosie, the university has said they will not charge the distance education fee of $51 for local students, and I think it's 102 for everyone else. So you won't be charged a distance education fee for any distance courses, and you will not be charged the recreation fee, which would have given you access to the field house and those facilities. But everything else right now is still being charged. So I would encourage everyone as well to regularly check your student tuition account as well. Okay, a lot of times students will pay, they think they owe $900 and they actually owe 910 and they don't realize it until they go to register the next semester. So make sure that you check your student account, you pay it, and then give it another check to make sure the payment's gone through and the balance is zero, because you don't want it to slow you down the next semester in getting the courses you need. Rosie, can I ask what program? I know you probably told me. Program you're, I think it's education. Right. I remembered education leadership studies. Excellent. And there are some scholarships that are just for students within your unit. So there are scholarships which are just for education students, okay, or maybe just for political science students. So it's really important that you are on any listserv or any kind of news feed from your academic unit, because that's where you're going to get that critical information. Okay, you can always, always, always email me anyway. But you should always have a good connection with your academic unit. Rosie, how do you sign up for this listserv? My advice is for you to connect with your unit, and I'm going to put see your Faculty of Education. Just give me a moment. Take that out. So SMO is asking, what if you pay fees and don't get the study permit? Really good question, and I may ask Andrew to support me on this one because I'm not sure if I have all the information. But we are asking students, first of all, to apply for their study permit right away. And we are asking that to send along an approval in principle document. So generally, if you receive approval in principle, that means that you're pretty much approved for a study permit once you arrive. If you don't have the approval in principle document by September 23rd, you may need to think about how you move forward, because you're right. It's possible that you will not get a study permit, so you need to be kind of aware of that situation. Andrew, if I've misspoken, can you please correct me?
Yeah, so I think for most programs, the general advice, and this I guess this is for students who are starting their programs remotely outside of Canada. The best advice we can offer is make sure you apply for a study permit ASAP. You may know that IRCC has implemented a new two-step process for approving study permit applications. The first step is called approval in principle. So hopefully you get that soon if you've applied, and you should email that to us. And as long as you email that to us by the last day to register, you should have some confidence that if you have to come to Canada at some point to complete your program at a later date, that you're able to do so. It's not a final approval, but it gives you more confidence on having no decision. Um, we are encouraging students in those situations to register now. So if they plan to start the programs remotely in the fall semester, just because we don't want you to sort of fall behind in a course, and ensure that you're able to prepare for SEPTA along with everyone else. And that said, if come the first or second week of September, you realize that you haven't heard back from IRCC about your study permit, and you're not sure if you want to continue remaining registered, or seeking deferral of admission. If your offers ended up being deferred, then you should see the fees reversed, the program and ancillary fees reversed on your student account, and you could request ultimately to have that refunded. Hopefully, we won't get into that situation. The government of Canada has publicly announced that they're committed to reviewing all the applications that were submitted online. Um, but there's no risk to you in terms of losing money for your program fee and your ancillary fees.
Thanks, Andrew. Gift has asked, if you paid more than a current semester into my student account, after the semester fee is deducted, will the balance be transferred into the next semester? Excellent question, Gift. And yes, any credit balance in the fall will be transferred over to the winter semester. So it'll go towards your next semester fees. Rosie, I did include the contacts for the Faculty of Education, Dr. Rhonda Joy and Nicole Constantine. I would encourage you to follow up with those two just to make sure you're on any listservs that you may need to be on. Mapatagama, can you opt out of health insurance fees since we will be studying outside of Canada? Andrew, sorry to pick on you again.
Yeah, it's so the caveat with some of my responses is we don't know exactly who you are, and so sometimes it depends on sort of personal information that obviously we don't want to share in this kind of context. But generally speaking, if you're an international student starting your program from outside of Canada, and initially charged foreign health insurance, then yes, you can opt out. And I am going to share with you a link with this information. I don't know if it's possible to do that right now, but on this website, you'll find how you can be eligible to opt out of foreign health insurance. And you see the very first thing is a bullet is like, I am studying outside of Canada, and then the opt out process will be posted here at some point in the future.
Thanks, Andrew. Alpha is asking if there are any updates with regards to your earlier question about receipt of tuition of payment. I do know, Alpha, that Andrew will get back to you the minute he has a response on that one. And he did get your email this morning. I know that. I was on the call. So the minute he has a response, he will get back to you. But thank you. And thank you for joining us again. So I'm going to ask, has anyone started their study plan or a spending plan, or has anyone given any thought to that yet? Both are really good. We always encourage students to do a study plan. But while you're planning, do both. You're welcome, Alpha. Rosie says you also use the information teaching in your classes. So Rosie, I'm guessing you are a teacher. And it's interesting times for interesting times for our teachers out there in the world, who we think are going back in some parts of the world. Certainly here in Newfoundland, we're going back to some sort of in-class teaching at our kindergarten to grade 12 classes. But we don't know how that's going to look yet. Okay, so everybody's really quiet. I'm guessing you have everything in order. You're all ready to start your program in September. Excellent. Gift has really good questions today. Gift wants to know, is there a minimum number of courses to be registered for the semester to be considered full-time? So at the graduate level at Memorial University, what determines whether a student is full-time or not is how many hours a week you work. Okay, so your full-time status is basically self-declared. So you tell us you want to devote your program full-time. And in keeping with that, that means you cannot work more than 24 hours a week. So you can take as many courses as you want in a semester, or you don't have to take any courses. Okay, as long as you're registered in 9,000, you're good. Okay. You're welcome, Gift. A Gift, can I ask what program you've been admitted to? Postgrad diploma in applied ocean technology. Oh, interesting. I believe, is that through the Marine Institute? I think it is.
That's a brand new program.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. It's a new program. Okay, well, I'm going to put my email address here again. I know I've put it here a few times, and I'm going to put Andrew's here as well. I will say that if you're not sure, if you have a question about your graduate program or anything really at MUN and you're not sure who to ask, you can always email Andrew or myself. We will get back to you quickly. Okay, we may not be the person who knows the answer, but we will make sure that you get your answer. And we probably have the easiest email addresses to remember. Mine is just carol@mun.ca, and Andrew's is akim@mun.ca. Okay, .ca. So Asamoah asks, what are the conditions for deferrals and what happens to the fees paid? So Asamoah, if you have paid fees and you've chosen to defer your start to later than the fall, if you've paid fees, the fees will be reversed to the source. So if you paid them by credit card, the fees will be reversed to that credit card you provided. If your fees were paid through SGS funding, for example, the fees will be reversed back to SGS. Okay, so it basically wipes out your fees and amount owing. And if you were offered funding, so if you start in September, your funding starts, you decide to defer, we reverse everything, and you move forward to the winter semester, your funding would restart in the winter semester. Okay. We all know it's going to be a different semester. So we know that, certainly our international students will have to make decisions probably closer to the time of the classes start. That's okay. We're here to help and we'll help you through the process. Okay. It's important that you apply for your study permit right away. And Alex from Ghana. I think, Alex, you were on I feel like you were on an earlier call as well. If so, welcome back.
Thank you. I was on early morning, like the early morning meeting.
You were. I think you emailed me, right?
Yes, with
Yeah.
regards to, yeah, yeah. And actually saw some, when you join subsequent meetings, you kind of people, you
Yeah.
know. I've seen some names like Isabella Latte from Ghana. That name is a Ghanaian name. One Abigail too from Ghana. And these are basically Ghanaian names.
These are excellent ways to connect with new students as well, even though that's not the primary intention, but it's excellent that you're
Yeah.
starting. Yeah. to
Yeah,
recognize
so
it.
please pardon us so that at least because I mean I know we are not supposed to share our personal details, but then
Yeah.
with Abigail and Isabella, at least I could make contact with them because we are in Ghana, and at least we can take it from there. Because it
Yeah.
gets so frustrating that you don't even know those you are even taking the program or the same school. It's yeah. So
Yeah.
please pardon of us.
No,
I don't know
it's
if they
excellent.
can hear. If they can hear. I don't know if Isabella and Abigail they are on the line.
Not sure if Isabella can hear us, but Isabella,
Hello.
Alex. Oh, Alex is also from Ghana, so we're connecting some of the
Yeah.
students today. Gift has a question. If you opt out and come to Canada, maybe. Oh, I think I missed the question. Okay. Gift asks, you understand the foreign health insurance plan is supposed to cover for a year. So if you opt out and come to Canada maybe December, how do I get another insurance plan for the remaining months? So you should be able to opt in once you get here. Gift. Okay, so even though you can opt out in December, say in September, sorry, you should be able to, once you arrive, to opt in to the health insurance. It may mean that you have to fill out some form and touch base with the internationalization office, but certainly that's something that we will make sure that that all students have. Also, when you come to Newfoundland, you have to enroll in our provincial medical plan, Medicare plan, which is free. But after you're here for a certain length of time, you can enroll in that, and that just means you don't have to pay for regular doctor's visits, or if you have to go to emergency, and we hope you don't, but if you ever have to, you wouldn't have to pay for that as well.
My program. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, my program. It seems it's only one. One like it's more or less like every year it done only one, so I cannot defer. If I'm deferring, then I'm doing the next year, right? MSc management.
MSc management, I think intake is only in the fall for that one. So if you were to defer, it would have to be to next fall, but I can confirm that actually.
Yeah. No, I think I want to take the
You're thinking,
program. I want to take the program. I want to keep on with the program. So
yeah. And you've applied for your study permit, correct?
yes, I have done
Good.
that since 5th
Good,
May.
good. Okay. That's
And
good.
I mean, it's still processing, but others have also received theirs. I mean, they've gotten response. There's this gentleman who applied earlier, weeks before. He has gotten his medical approval.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some friends also from Nigeria have also, as soon as they apply, I think after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they get their first stage approval.
Okay.
So it's confusing.
We do know that IRCC is working through the applications, I guess as quickly as they can. They've told us they are. So hopefully you'll hear something soon. And Mapatagama asks, can you explain the process and steps for applying for TA positions when universities start face-to-face classes? So Mapatagama, if you are offered a TA position on your program of study, so you should be able to have a look and see there, that's basically, you don't have to apply for it. It's been assigned to you, okay? Sometimes units will put a call out to all their students and ask who's interested in TAs. It may be something like that, or they may actually ask you to send in your resume. So it really depends on the opportunity. What program have you been admitted to in Mapatagama? I know in some of the sciences. Engineering. Okay. Yeah, so I think a lot of the engineering students get a TA or a GA, and generally they will just send out an email to all their students and ask who's interested. And it's a really simplified process in engineering.
Just a minute, please. With my document that I sent to you, I mean, I didn't know. I didn't hear from you again. Was it because the transcript wasn't not good enough?
No, I received both documents. I've reached out to the department. I just haven't heard back yet.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Yep. So Andrew just reminds us to please don't share private information in the
I'm
chat
so
there.
sorry about
Yeah.
that. Sorry about that.
That's
I
all.
was actually trying to sign up to the Grad Common platform where you can get in touch with other grad students, but I think along the way I got confused.
The link for that.
Yes,
Did you have the link for it?
yes, I do have it.
Yeah.
I've logged in now, but I think I am at where ePortfolio.
Okay. So if you're having trouble with your email, is it your login you're having trouble with? Are you able to log in?
I've been able to log in, but then I
Yeah.
learned there's a platform where you'll be able to interact with other students, since we are not permitted to
Yeah.
use medium to communicate it with other graduate students. So I've logged in already, and I'm actually on the dashboard. But then with the dashboard, I see portfolio, program and course online, student resources and library and all that.
Yeah. So it you should see it there. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page, sometimes you may have to click on a link to show all of your shells.
Okay.
Just poke around there. And if it's still not working, I'm going to get you an email, sgs@mon.ca.
Okay.
And Andrew has
Okay.
posted the link there. Just make sure you're clicking on the correct link.
Okay.
Okay.
So actually, I wanted also want to find out, would there be a kind of as part of our dashboard where maybe when the lecturers recommend, the professor recommend some books for you, you can go on the system and probably do some reading and all that?
So your Brightspace shell, so where you would have signed in to the Graduate Commons, is that's where your courses, that each course kind of will be housed. Okay. So your professor may put some information in that Brightspace shell about some readings. Not every professor uses Brightspace, but I'm pretty sure most of them do. Okay, so if you're interested kind of in knowing what the readings are for a particular course, I'd encourage you to reach out to that professor. Okay, and just to see what where they like to post information.
Okay. Okay. So after registering your programs, are you supposed to see it on the dashboard?
I'm not sure that it appears there right away. I think the professor has to make those dashboards live.
Okay.
Yeah, because both Andrew and I taught in the winter, and I remember I had to actually switch a button so students could see it. So it could be that when you registered for the course, did the course have a professor attached to it?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Yeah. Sometimes the professor isn't assigned yet, so they haven't actually gone in and switched it over, but you should see that within the next couple of days for sure.
Okay. 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 Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's Isabella on the line. I don't know if she's
Sorry, I joined late. Wanted to know if there's any funding schemes for graduate diploma in business administration students. So Isabella, generally there is no fellowship funding or supervisor support for graduate diploma program students. It's only for master's and PhD students. You are, however, eligible to apply for scholarships if you meet the criteria. So if you scroll up through this chat, you will see a series of links that I included. I would encourage you to look through those, and it's a lot of reading, but over the next week or two, just go through those and see if there's anything there that you may be eligible for. Yeah.
So Isabella and Boafo, please get in touch.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any questions or anything you want to talk about, or any suggestions? Is it possible as a postgraduate student to transfer credit to a master program at some point? So you are in business administration. You may be able to transfer up to, I think, an MBA, but you may need postgrad diploma. Yeah. But you may need to still do the GMAT for that gift. Okay, so if you have questions about doing that, I'm going to send you a link for the grad officer for Faculty of Business. So if you have any specific questions about how you do that.
I think GIF was in Ocean Tech.
Was she Ocean Tech? No, GDBA. Oh, no, that's Isabella. Never mind.
Yeah, no worries.
Right.
So the general rule about grad diplomas is that if you finish a grad diploma program, then all of the credits are transferable to the affiliated master's program. So in your case, it would be the MAOT. So the fees aren't transferable, but the credits are, and that's unlike normal situations where if I do a master's degree, then I can't then use that the credits that were applied to fill those degree requirements to fill another degree requirements. So the short answer to your question is yes. You can try, and then that's the reason why the programs are developed this way, so that you can do a few courses, earn one credential, and then start an affiliated master's degree in an accelerated format.
Thanks, Andrew. I told you Andrew knows everything about academic programs and enrollment. And he has it memorized. I know he's not checking Google to confirm it. Okay, I think okay, did you say the fees aren't transferable? That correct, Gift. So what Andrew said is that some of the, if you completed courses in your diploma program, those courses could be applied against the master's program, but you would still have to pay the regular master's fees. Okay, the fees that you paid at the diploma level wouldn't necessarily be credited for your master's.
And so this is pretty typical of grad programs across Canada. We charge a program fee. So you don't pay per credit hour or per course. And so if you do a program and you do 5 courses, you'll pay the same fee, total program fee, when compared to somebody who may have done 7 courses or 3 courses, right? And so the real benefit for transfer credits in this particular case is just finish a lot faster. Right?
SMO is asking when actually will remote learning begin. So technically remote learning will start as of the first day of classes, which I believe is September 8th, if not the 9th. Just send a link here. Do you know the date for first day of classes, Andrew? Is it the 8th?
I believe it's the 9th, but
The 9th, yeah.
technically remote learning began late March when the university made the decision to shift to online and remote taught classes. So we've been doing this for a while, as is the case for many universities in Canada. And so it's something that the universities, mine included, have sort of become well accustomed to. And so it also means that although your courses start on September 9th, if you have questions about remote learning, online courses, you can reach out to the instructor now and ask. And one of the things that we talked about in the morning session that we had today is if there are constraints that you feel you might have, then to let your instructors know so they have time to plan for and accommodate your needs. So one very simple example of this is, if you're in a different time zone and you see that, or you think that your instructor might do synchronous sessions, and that might put you at a disadvantage, may compel you to wake up really, really early or stay up really, really late, then let your instructor know so they can do something about that, whether it's to adjust the timing of those synchronous sessions or to record them like we're doing right now. so that people can view them when it's convenient for them.
Rosie asks, when it is tax time, is the tax form available in self-service in the spring for us to download? So Rosie, T4As and T4s, which are the tax slips to report employment, have to be issued by the end of February for the previous calendar year. So you should see those there in around February, the end of February. And also you will see a T2202A, which is the tax form that allows you to calculate any deductions you may have as a student. So those three forms will be there. So if you worked, you would get a T4. If you got a scholarship or fellowships, you would get a T4A. And the T2202A is just to calculate any deductions you might be eligible for. Okay, so I think we are coming to the end. We have a little less than 2 minutes left. So I just want to say thank you all for joining us. Thank you for choosing Memorial University. We know everybody has choice in life, and we do recognize that you chose us. We are here to help you. Andrew and I are committed to making ourselves available for graduate students, not only just before you start, but throughout your graduate program. Okay, we are here to welcome you in and then to say farewell to you as you cross the stage at convocation. So please do rely on us as you need to, and good luck. You're all very bright young individuals, and we know you're going to do fantastic in your graduate program. All right, take care.